So that's kind of how it started for me as creating something for creatives. I'm kind of working on something like this myself with Qtures, which is really like my baby for capturing and like documenting creative process. So this is something I'm starting to use myself more and more for all my projects. I want to be kind of a little bit familiar with everything. So I guess that's where the Polymath side of things come really back. Like you kind of want to know everything and you want to do everything. So of course I also dive into things like Figma, like DaVinci. Like I want to just kind of like try everything. Actually, if I go with just my feelings, I'm quite a perfectionist. I want to kind of like have control on all the little details, but I also learned like this is slowing me down so much. But then I posted it and it was like one of the best videos I posted. Like somehow people find it super interesting and it just turned out great.
Hello, I'm Dustin PolyInnovator. Today I'm talking with Scy Heidekamp on the PolyTools Creator Spotlight, who is a creative technologist, media artist, retired influencer, and content creator now as well. Thank you for joining me on the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me. So excited.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, me too. I think there's a lot we can dig into, especially if we want to get really nerdy about tools and maybe just like different aspects behind technology. But what I wanted to ask first, and I didn't send this over beforehand, is what is your energy drink of choice?
Ooh, I'm a really big fan of energy drink, and
Yes.
I drink one every day, which is really bad actually. But it's my replacement for coffee. But
Okay.
my favorite is still like a Red Bull, and then they have this coconut flavor. That's my favorite.
I'm sad they don't have this anymore. They used to have a cranberry flavor, and that was like the best Red Bull there was.
Nice. Yeah, I really I'm a little bit addicted to energy drinks, but don't tell me.
Just a little bit. It's only like plastered on like every platform you have. No, I love caffeine myself. I think the other day I had 800 milligrams, which is not safe, but oh well.
Yeah, it keeps you going.
Yeah, I actually just drank a coffee before this call, and I'm doing coffee and energy drinks, and it's not safe. But
oh yeah, like both is a lot. Yeah.
So best way to get started here is like, what got you started as a content creator in general? What inspired you?
Yeah, I think it actually, well, I call myself more of a creative than specifically content creator, but it's like there's so much overlap anyways. I can roll it back all the way until like when I was born, because my mom is super creative and my dad is super technical, and I'm kind of like somewhere in the middle. So when I went to a creative school after my high school, and there I got some lessons into video editing and animations. And I could say that's the point where I was like, ooh, this is exciting. This is like, there's all these softwares and I can like put things together and make, actually, we made some really silly videos at first. And yeah, from there, I've actually started creating more videos at some point. I think in 2015, I was really a fan of My Digital Escape. That was this kind of like group of YouTubers that would kind of have this alternative lifestyle. And I felt that resonated with me quite a bit as someone who was quite a bit alternative lifestyle myself. So I actually started creating a similar group with some friends, and we made a lot of videos together. We would have all of our own days. And then it was only a few years later when that kind of like stopped, and I just started making content on my own, like really like YouTube videos about things that I would find interesting, about festivals and about creative stuff.
That's awesome. And I definitely like the balance between like the more scientific and creative aspect. That's kind of what my other channel is about as well. So it really piqued my interest.
Yeah. That's also, I would say, like why I call myself still a creative technologist, because I have never been able to really decide on the one which side it is going to be, because I just love bringing things to life, and not just kind of visually, but also just kind of like things that you can interact with. And yeah, especially the interaction between humans and computers and screens and stuff is just like super exciting to me.
Are you big on like Neuralink and like other hidden faces and stuff like that?
I do find it very interesting. I'm following their every step and just kind of seeing what are the latest emerging technologies. And I think that's also why I was quite early with AI, just kind of being able to try things out and to tinker some stuff. Yeah, it's really fun.
I was going to say, when I was growing up, I was really obsessed with like VR and immersive technology, so I could get more immersed in video games.
Oh, sorry. Have you tried creating some things in VR?
I haven't, but I've looked into it. Like even back in like 2018, 2019, when I was still starting out on YouTube, I was looking at like 360 video, because I knew that like that was going to be a big thing, especially when it came to like making VR content, I also interviewed Eugene Capon, who made like the first VR talk show, for example.
Oh, interesting.
And that's like just there's a lot of potential there, and I think a lot of people are still sleeping on VR despite the fact it's been so popular.
Right. I feel like it still has to kind of like take off on the bigger audience, like the everyday customer of that or like user of that. Yeah, I think it has a bit to do also with, it's quite bulky, but they're coming now like the smart glasses and stuff that are a lot lighter. I'm really
speaking my
excited
language.
to try those.
Yeah, so there's Vitcher, there's like Rokid. They have a lot of really cool smart glasses when it comes to like the AR and just having those immersive screens. But even like the VR headsets are getting really tiny. The new Valve one that just got announced is super small.
Yeah, they're definitely, everything's just moving forward. So it cannot take long anymore till it's at that point where people will just be like, okay, now it's like a price that we can actually afford and also just kind of comfortable. Yeah.
Speaking of smart glasses too, one thing I've been trying to get my hands on for content creation are the smart glasses that can record. I'm not a huge fan of Meta and like the Meta AI, but the Meta glasses are kind of nice and they boost you in the Instagram algorithm. So I'm kind of like, I kind of want to get my hands on them, but there's Rokid and also Eventech. So Even Realities is what it was. Even Realities G1 that have like smart glass like HUD. So you can have like a little green HUD like in Fallout. It's like, that's super cool.
That's really cool. And I'm a big fan of capturing the creative process, which is something that's like completely different than like the standard documentation tool. So like having things on video like this, just like POV. Looking at your surroundings and everything that kind of plays a part in that would be really, really cool.
I mean, I could definitely see you making videos of like, let's say you're coding something or using vibe coding or something like that, using AI, and you're using your glasses to record yourself using a computer, and that could be something that I definitely see you doing that.
Yeah, or even like if you're using computer, you can still like screen record, but if you're using a desk, you can kind of like record it with a camera, but it already gets more messy. But I was, for example, talking to a photographer, and he was saying like he goes outside to start just kind of looking around, and he gets inspired by the things he looks at. Like how you cannot even like capture that with a camera because it would be a huge distraction unless you would just kind of have it on you.
Yeah. Real quick, I don't know if this is just like Riverside going kind of like low bit rate, but it looks like you kind of got out of focus. On the camera.
I'm noticing that too.
Oh, there we go. I got you back a little bit, I think.
Yeah, I don't have often this much trouble with it, but maybe it's Riverside kind of like helping a little bit there, but
maybe. So it's interesting though, like with technology that we have these small little issues. Like we just had the focus on the camera kind of get out on us there. But speaking of tools, we could just jump to that question right there. What tools do you use for content creation or repurposing? It could be hardware, software, wherever you want to go with that.
I like to use a lot of different things. So it kind of like, it can start like just on paper, which is very funny, but I still like to sketch things out and like, and I do that on actual paper in a notebook. But often like if it comes to recording stuff, I record and then edit things in Premiere. Like I already learned from my first art school working with Adobe. So I'm still really like kind of stuck there because I feel like once you're in the Adobe programs, that's kind of like the best but yeah, it's like as a multimedia, I use really like I want to be kind of a little bit familiar with everything. So I guess that's where the Polymath side of things come really back. Like you kind of want to know everything and you want to do everything. So of course I also dive into things like Figma, like DaVinci. Like I want to just kind of like try everything. Yeah, if I fall back to kind of my normal, like my defaults, it's like mostly Adobe programs. Yeah.
I mean, I used the DaVinci and I only used it mainly because it was free, right? But now I've been doing it for 7+ years, 8+ years. And so now it's kind of like, it's hard for me to go to maybe Adobe now that I can probably work with them and get access to it or something like that. But I feel like now I probably would try it out again. I used CS6 from Adobe back in high school, but that was so long ago. One thing you might try is like Firecut, which is an automatic editing add-on to Adobe and DaVinci. It's really cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've actually I think also because I do quite a bit of design work, that's also
Mhm.
why, like, Adobe Illustrator, Adobe InDesign, like it comes kind of falls back to that. So that's why I also usually like to work with Premiere, but I also know from like animating stuff, my default is just After Effects. So it's like I'm in this kind of bubble. I kind of
Yeah.
hate it because I'd like to do more outside. So that's why I just kind of like keep trying things. Like I think one of the repurposing things that I lately tried was a Opus clip or something.
I was
Like
wearing the hat
actually,
earlier.
yeah, actually quite nice to kind of like take some pieces out of your content and then like add that into stories or something as its own little snippet. So yeah, just trying things out.
I actually had a note here. I was gonna be like, "Do you want to toss your videos on your channel into Opus to create shorts for your YouTube?" Because I noticed you didn't have as many shorts, and I was like, maybe we could just like repurpose all of your solo content into shorts and just see what it comes up with.
Wow, that would probably be some time because
Yeah,
I think
I
I,
did
I
it
also
myself.
I
So
was yeah. It's like nice, but also yeah. Sometimes I feel like almost like AI has a good eye for it, but a human has a better eye for it. Sometimes I just know something is like super catchy that I said or that came up,
hmm
then I just kind of like just do it by hand because AI is smart, but the humans are still smarter.
well, it's gonna get better each time, every year and whatnot.
Yeah,
And
true.
I still had to go in there and tweak a lot of things. Like with a video like this,
Hmm.
a podcast, I generally don't have to do as much tweaking. But for like a solo video, especially since you have like B-roll and stuff going on, you might have to change certain tweaks. So like
Yeah.
you might not get as many clips, but you can just if you go in there and tweak with them, you get a decent amount. And it's interesting too because one thing I talk about a lot is the shotgun versus sniper approach, where you have the more SEO optimized, maybe like going more for quality over quantity, and you have the shotgun approach, which is more like wide ranging, polymathic, and like the more quantity over
Hmm.
quality. But both of them are
Yeah.
good. Which one do you kind of lean towards? Do you think both?
Could you give some more examples?
So,
Like,
for example, I would say if you're sitting there, like I said, the human had a bit more of a touch to the creativity aspect, right? And
hmm
so you wanted to make a more optimized short, and you wanted to make a short that was specifically about this topic, and you wanted to make sure the editing was nice and tight. There's no filler, there's no couple second gaps here and there, stuff like that. Versus, let's say with Opus Clip, I'm going to toss this video into Opus, get a ton of clips from there, but I'm not going to put a whole bunch of effort into each clip. I'm just going to make sure it has a title card, make sure it doesn't start on a filler word, something like that. Do some basic tweaks and call it a day, and I'll get maybe 30 clips out of it versus having one or two
Yeah.
optimized clips. Like
So it's
really.
kind of that balance of like how much effort you want to put in to make it perfect versus
Mhm.
just going with something that is good enough.
And see,
Yeah,
or see what
yeah.
sticks too.
Yeah, we'll see what's. Yeah, no, I actually, I guess it's also a bit of a balance for me because actually, if I go with just my feelings, I'm
Mhm.
quite a perfectionist. I want to kind of like have control of all the little details, but I also learned like this is slowing me down so much.
Yeah.
And yeah, then it just makes sense to just put things out there because it's also it can really help to have because sometimes I feel like I was, for example, I was recording a video in usually I record 4K, and then I was recording accidentally on HD, and I
Mm.
thought like, am I gonna do the whole video again? Like, but then I posted it, and it was like one of the best videos I posted. Like somehow people find it super interesting, and it just turned
Yeah.
out great. So then I think like, yeah, this if you always try to perfection it, then you're also sometimes just shooting yourself in the foot because it's not even what people care about so much, anyways. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and one thing a lot of YouTubers really kind of forget is that audio is more important than anything. A person can
Oh
deal with
yeah.
crappy video, but if it's crappy audio, they just can't. They just can't do
Yeah,
it.
that's true. Yeah, I'm really glad they got a bit better microphone over
Yeah.
the air because when I made my first YouTube videos, it was really like yeah, like messy amateur. But I mean,
It didn't seem too
at that
amateurish to me when I
point,
was looking at her on the channel.
no, all my old videos are on a different channel. You probably
Oh,
haven't
okay, okay,
found.
okay.
So
I didn't
no, I
research
think
hard
those
enough.
were yeah. That was also like years back, and I
Yeah.
find also this so funny. Like if you're watching movies these days, and then you watch a movie from like 5 years ago, you think like, yeah, that was such a good quality movie. But if you watch it now, it feels so like degraded, like so
Yeah.
old that you think like, well, how our standards are rising so fast. So maybe like 5 years or 10 years ago, when I make these videos with this group, and now I feel like that's such a crappy content. But at that
Mm.
point, that was just, like the best part that was out there, I
And
guess.
people still would probably still enjoy it too. Like even though you still think it's
Yeah.
crappy, someone might find it and love it, right? And
Yeah.
what's interesting too about like 4K, a lot of people don't think about this. You're a techie, so I presume you have plenty of storage on your computer, backup drive, stuff like that. But 4K takes up a lot of space. Even my
Yeah.
like 1080p videos will be like 3 to 7 gigs per video, depending on how long it is, and that can be a lot of storage taken up. I've done 200 interviews now, so that's like it adds up
Yeah,
quite a
that's a
bit.
lot to store.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can see maybe like the channels where you posted a little bit as a storage.
Yeah.
Although it's of course not the same. Yeah.
Yeah, well, especially since there's compression on YouTube and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly.
You mentioned a lot of the software tools you use, but since you're a techie as well, I want to know what hardware stuff you play with and what you use.
Oh, I got really lucky because I got into AI 5 years ago, and then I
Mm.
followed an internship with an American company called Sean Lee, where I was like one of the first AI artists. And luckily, they wanted to support me with a very nice GPU, so I have like an
Oh,
A6000 GPU, and that is still like driving my computer and everything I'm doing here. So because
that's
I was
great.
like training AI models and stuff, so I needed something quite intense, and I'm
Hmm.
very lucky to have this powering my computer.
Do you run local LLMs or are you using still stuff in the cloud?
I'm mostly only running local stuff because I'm actually really, I get really deep into this stuff, and I want to try a lot of different things, and when I try
Hmm.
something I try it like a million times, so that it runs up
Yeah.
really quickly with credits and stuff. So I'm actually using, just started using it on my MacBook. Before that I was running it on Windows and
Hmm.
Linux, but on my MacBook I just installed like LM Studio to use AI models in my workflows, and yeah, it's going well. I was actually surprised because my previous MacBook could really not do a single thing, but now I have a bit better one, and M3 one that can
Hmm.
actually handle it. It still goes like it's still taking off like a
Yeah,
rocket ship, but
that's
yeah,
funny.
it's starting to
What
get better.
what Linux distro were you using?
This was Ubuntu 20. Yeah, it's already a while ago. I've
Hmm.
been working on some other stuff in the meantime, but
There. Yeah,
when I
that's
was
good.
running it on my computer, yeah, that's now like 2, 3 years ago when I was really like training AI models and stuff.
I was daily driving Zorin OS for a hot minute. I think that's a fork of Ubuntu in a way.
All right.
Yeah, it's really fun. I actually really love this idea of using like Zorin OS as like my daily driver as a content creator and making a video about that. I'm not sure how interesting
Nice.
it would be, but yeah, just throwing it out there.
Yeah, I'm super interested at the moment into like agents, and I still haven't tried out N8N
Mm.
to kind of like work with agentic flows in there. So that's still on my list of to-dos of things I want to try and run locally.
I've messed around with a lot of AI automation tools. I mean, and 8 is one of the ones I need to actually play around with more. It's supposedly like the
Yeah.
best one, and I think even on I made a post about like the best automation tools. I think even on that post I put it as like number one, just because like
Nice.
Zapier is always breaks. It's super expensive.
Yeah.
Automish is like I think a little bit too complicated for some people to use. Make is pretty good, but like it's kind of middle of the ground. There's all these different options, and I think people don't
Yeah,
realize.
exactly. No, I know actually a lot about N8, and I watch all these tutorials, but I always
Yeah.
watch them when I'm not at home. So I'm like trying to keep it in my head for the moment that I actually get to try it.
Yeah. My other channel is about like knowledge management. And so do you have any knowledge management tools that you use to organize things?
Oh, interesting. I actually spoke with someone who is really like developing its own knowledge management system lately. And so we were also talking about like, there's so much information in creative process, and like it should have its own system to kind of do
Yeah.
that. For me, it's like it's really all over the place. I using all kinds of tools to document stuff like reminders, like Notion, like Obsidian,
Mhm.
like all kinds of stuff. Actually, I'm trying out what kind of sticks. I think Notion is what sticks the most, but I just kind of different projects. I kind of use different things, but I mean. I'm kind of working on something like this myself with Qtures, which is really
Mhm.
like my baby for capturing and like documenting creative process. So this is something I'm starting to use myself more and more for all my projects.
We can definitely talk more about that too. And what was the tool that your friend was building? Like, was it Sander or Cortex, or was it something that like I would know?
Oh yeah. His tool is called Zen, Z-E-N, and he's still like in a really early phase with it. But it's very interesting. Like he built a completely new how do you call it, like computer system to run and like have all kinds of semantic links between documents. It's very interesting.
Yeah, definitely send it to me later because I love seeing new systems like that. What does
Yeah.
Qtures do to help creatives?
So Qtures is all about bringing the creative process to in front of more people, because I feel like as creatives, even if you're like an artist or a creator, it doesn't matter, but anyone who has this creative process where you have inspiration and ideas and you want to bring it to life, we really, really often close it to ourselves. Like we kind of gatekeep it almost. We don't share these parts of before we get to something that we're actually proud of, or like that we feel like it's enough, good enough to show to people. Well, I think this is a really important one that we should share it more, especially also for our next generations, but also just to be transparent on which part was you in the process, which part was AI, which part was inspiration that you took from someone else maybe, or like references. And so with Qtures, I kind of like providing a space for that. And right now it's about kind of like journaling about your creative projects. Like, for example, I have a project. I wanted to create a game about like pets and like playing with your pets. So I start with just an empty idea. It's called an exploration on the Qtures platform, and then I start adding to it with like kind of like journal entries about my process. Like today, I found I made some videos, and today I actually researched this and that, and so you kind of like build up a case or a file on your projects.
I definitely like that idea. I can definitely see. I've done similar things like in a Notion doc, but it wouldn't be as creative or like explorable as what you're describing there.
Yeah.
And I can almost see that also being just like a plugin for Obsidian too. That would be really cool, or integration with Obsidian.
Yeah, and I think it's like something really, really important, because as we are getting more and more AI results and we're only showing our results, like eventually we'll need to show to like recruiters or new clients, like that we are able to direct the process, because the result is becoming like it's kind of losing its value. And if we want to keep value to creativity, we'll need to like show that it's more than just, like a few words, or like leaving it entirely to AI.
Well, and prompt engineering does take a lot of creativity as well, and a lot
Yeah,
of time
definitely.
people don't really realize that like AI is going to become more and more part of our process, whether people like it or not. And I'm very much like in the advocate of like, let's use AI if it helps enhance what we're doing. But I know that a lot of people, especially creatives, feel really apprehensive about it, and there's a lot of multiple sides to the coin, if you will. But yeah.
Yeah, I think it's also nice to see like more and more creatives are kind of starting to open up to it. Like, let's see how we can use it, like maybe as like a part of the process, or something that can do some of the things that are more annoying to me than the things that I actually want to. So that's really nice. But I think the main case is also, transparency. I think we're just scared that that our works are used without our permission, or without like us knowing. These kinds of things just kind of brought a lot of resistance, which makes a lot of sense. So I'm kind of like I'm really optimistic, and I have
Yeah,
this
same.
view of the future. Like now we know, like now this has been very well pointed out in the creative industry. And if we all start now to really like show, hey, here I used in the process AI, and this was actually my own doing, and this was someone else's, then we can start to kind of like trace that back almost as a
Yeah.
fingerprint. And then if we have later one day AI training on stuff, that we can just get contributed to the things that were ours, like, so that there is a system that we can actually go back, trace back. Oh, well, if we're using this much of this person's stuff, like why don't we give this person something back in return?
It's definitely very much an interesting topic there on its own, where having that historical context, I try to be pretty transparent when I use AI. And there's certain cases where, for example, especially when it comes to the workflow, I hate doing meta descriptions. I'm a writer first and foremost. I'm not going to use AI to write my blog posts. I
Right.
might use it every once in a blue moon to make an outline, which that outline will literally just be the headings. And that just helps me give an idea of like the flow of the post. I'll probably change those headings, but more than likely I might use it for that. But I would probably just use the AI completely for the meta description because I can't stand doing that part. Once I get done
Yeah.
writing a post, I do not want to spend any more brain power thinking about how to make a TLDR about the post.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
like with video, I can't stand editing. And so using Firecut to automate some of the process or Opus
Exactly.
Clip to make
Yeah.
shorts, stuff like that.
That doesn't take away from your creativity at all. It just kind of like helps you and helps you get better and like yeah, some of the things that are difficult. I do it definitely in a lot of emails
Yeah.
because I'm really yeah, I can speak fine, but my English is still not native, so I'm like often just putting it into ChatGPT and then getting something out that I think like, yeah, okay, this people are gonna take seriously because if I write it myself, it's like a mess.
That's definitely true to like translation or even just like context, translocalizing as well.
Yeah.
It's interesting too because with content creation, there's actually something I came up with. There might be something that I created that you find interesting. It's called the creator equation. And this is how I have discovered how people grow as a content creator. You have strategy, you have automation, like strategy plus automation times execution that equals success. And a lot of people misunderstand each one of those quadrants. And automation is one of those things where automation doesn't have to be fully automating everything. It could just be like 20%. Like I mentioned, the meta description things. If that helps me get that
Yeah.
blog post out sooner, then that's going to be helpful automating that, or same with the clips and stuff like that too. But the strategy is also important. I remember watching your video about like how you're going to build out your YouTube channel, and you're talking about your strategy and your mindset behind that. And it was like a year ago, and it was interesting, even just a year ago, how some of those mindsets aren't necessarily applicable today because YouTube's so much different now. There's so many new features, so many new things going on.
Yeah, that too.
How does your strategy evolved over the last year or so?
Yeah, because I feel like also, people change. And I don't think I changed much, but my strategy definitely changed because
Mm-hmm.
I noticed already really quickly, like, I wanted to make video every week. And I said, like, if I'm going to do this stable, like week after week, then we're going to grow. But yeah, and then life happens and it turns out that, shit, like I have like a really busy week. Like, how am I gonna fit this in? Am I gonna am I gonna kind of almost like trade my mental health
Mm-hmm.
for my strategy, which is sometimes tricky because of course, like if you want to make a strategy true, you have to give it really your all. But at some point you kind of like need to start then prioritizing like, shit, am I gonna like make 2 less hours on my work and not get enough money versus like, am I gonna continue with this even though it takes away from other things. So it's like things change, and I think that's really acceptable. And sometimes we set ourselves a goal and we
Mm-hmm.
make ourselves a plan, but a plan is still a plan. Like, it's not always like we need to fit ourselves into it, and then we adjust the plan, which is I'm just kind of like maybe making an excuse here, but
No, I agree. I had the
yeah,
similar situation when I started making content, and I think that too. There's a certain point of like skill level too. Like you have a high skill when it comes to making a quality video, but making that video at a faster pace, or like maybe your editing skill can like you. Once I learned a couple shortcuts in DaVinci Resolve, for example, that made a huge difference in how fast I could edit. Right,
yeah,
and
yeah,
you've been doing Adobe for so long, so you don't have to worry about that. But some people who are just starting out barely know how to use Adobe. Once they get better at doing it, then it becomes a lot faster. There's
yeah.
also a matter of batching content too, and that makes it easier to be consistent and stuff like that.
Exactly. But I also realized, I think over time, that because I made a bunch of videos where I just felt like, yes, I made the video, but I don't feel like the content gives as much value as I would want to.
Mm.
So it's also a little bit of quality over quantity, that I would rather maybe then put out something that I feel like I actually want to message to the world, and like actually something that I think is valuable to share, versus making that weekly video or making something quick just to put something out there because of the algorithms and stuff. So yeah, it's a little bit
Hmm.
of, I guess it comes back to maybe like balancing, and maybe also this part of, I am a bit perfectionist, so sometimes
Yeah,
I tend to
that's the
go
same.
more to kind of like making it better. But I think it's also like, yeah, I feel like you cannot have value to share maybe like always every single day. Like it's difficult. It's not like there is no inspiration, but sometimes my inspiration feels like more for something, and I guess for something else. Like, and I guess as a polymath, you have so many different passions and maybe like different things you want to do and stuff. So then it's about
Your
prioritization.
channel prioritization, yes. Your channel is your personal brand, and so really, if you want to pursue a different topic, that is up to you, and that is okay. And I talk to people about this when it comes to making a multidisciplinary personal brand, because you're not going to stick to one niche more than likely. At the very least, it might be like 75-25 or even 50-25-25, something like that. And so the cadence of certain topics may only be monthly, may even be bi-monthly. But as long as you still put it out, that's fine. And sometimes I would also figure out, like, there's a certain day of the week I would make a certain post, and that's what I was trying to do to make it more consistent at the very least. And that's one reason why the main channel hadn't grown as much, because I had switched around between topics, but I knew that going in, and I was okay with that. That's why I made other channels to be a little bit more faster growing. But it's interesting to think about, like, perfectionism. Our mutual friend Lily, I talked to her about it a lot when it comes to not holding yourself back from posting because of that perfectionism. If you can get 80-85% of it perfect, then that last 15% is going to be way too much work for the amount of value that you're probably going to be changing it to.
Yeah, agreed. And eventually, like, if you have something to say that people are interested in, it doesn't matter like so much how it's edited or how it is, like how the details are. I guess it's really more like putting it out there. And so yeah, that's why I sometimes feel like maybe I don't need to post every week. Maybe it's like once a month, or like just whenever I feel like I really have something that I could share with the world. Because yeah, then it's about like there's so many things in the world. Like, what am I gonna do?
Yeah, and again, like, the one thing I like to think about it too is like it's just me talking shop with you, right? I love talking about cadence and the function of a YouTube channel, right? And so maybe you could make a weekly series that doesn't take as much. Maybe it's just a vlog. Maybe you're just doing a weekly vlog. So you still keep the algorithm happy, and you're still showing up. You're still making people who follow you interested. Because, like, I remember you said on your video that you left Instagram for a while, and because of that, you lost followers, and you're still building that back up. And I mean, you have a great following already, but it's hard because if you're not consistent with it, then obviously they might dip out. But there's also a matter of, like, sometimes posting too much makes them dip out. When I was posting my clips and my shows, people followed me on Instagram usually from real life, and so they didn't necessarily care about the podcast. And so when I posted to the main feed, I actually lost followers. When I turned that off and only posted to the Reels feed, I gained followers. So it was really interesting. Small tweaks like that could also make a difference.
Yeah, exactly. I also had this problem a few months back that I had finally like a lot of inspiration, and I was like halfway a video, and then my camera broke.
No!
Like, these things happen. And then it was like, oh shit, okay, I had to bring it to the store, and it took again weeks and stuff. So like there will always be some gaps, like there will always be some things that it makes it difficult for sure. But
let me tell you all this right now. Please have backups on backups. I have a backup camera. I have a backup microphone. I can't tell you.
That's so smart.
One thing I also was going to mention is that I bought a mini computer to replace my desktop. Right now I'm running off of my desktop. I made that in 2017. It's pretty ancient. Like, it runs fine, and it's good, but it's loud. It's hot. It doesn't really do well with gaming, for example, too. But the mini PC I had got to replace it was twice as fast on RAM, twice as much storage and speed on storage. Nice. The GPU was relatively equivalent, but it was 7 times newer. The CPU was slightly better, but it was 7 times newer, so the drivers were way better. So in all other aspects, the computer was a lot better, and it was, a 15th of the size. However, because it was a first generation product by this company, I had issues with the fan curves going full blast nonstop. And one thing that really made a big difference was the USB-C ports, for example, which my camera, my backup, my capture card, my microphone, or one of the microphones, they would use USB-C. And I would plug in the camera in one of them, and anytime I plugged anything else at a secondary USB port, it would actually just shut those USB-C ports down. They would stop working. And it would actually cause a point where, like, I had to reset the drivers completely, like uninstall the drivers, reinstall them, and it still might not work. And so it was really bad, and I couldn't make content doing, like, at that point. And so it actually caused me to skip content for a couple of weeks because I literally couldn't record. So there's issues like that. So always, I'm just sharing that anecdote with you, but it was painful.
What did it do to your channel? Like, if you're consistently posting and then you stop?
Not that much. I mean, granted, my channel is not that big, like 700 subscribers on that one, for example. And I think that because I post a lot when it comes to like shorts too, I was always having something going out at the very least when it came to like shorts.
Yeah.
You could also do that where like maybe you do like a live stream once a month or even just like once a week if you could manage it. And you're just talking tech, you're talking creativity, you're talking like AI, or maybe you're just live streaming yourself vibe coding, something interesting like that. And you're talking.
Some creating. Yeah, that's a good one.
And then
Yeah,
you could
because
take the live stream, put it into Opus, and get like 30 clips out of it, and you could post one clip a day. So you could still be posting every day and keep the algorithm
that's
happy.
Really smart. Good strategy help here. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any questions for me, Sky?
Yeah. No, I was just thinking that because the funny thing is, like, I was 3 months without a camera because it was broken and I haven't posted on YouTube at that moment. But somehow the first video I posted after it was back, it did so great that I almost wonder, like, is this like something like with the algorithm or just a good video? I'm not sure, but it's funny.
Have you made a video about the same topic since then?
No, like about the same topic that I posted. No, this was like only a week ago. So I still have another one coming that's around the same topic. Yeah. Yeah, it could be the topic. Maybe I just kind of like hit an interesting spot.
Also, just to put it out there, you have a phone. You could have recorded with your phone.
I know. Yeah. I have many excuses, but it's sometimes life just gets in the way.
Yeah. So kind of changing pace here. I might have to have you on the other show because we talk about like polymath and stuff like that, but I'm curious about the future design aspect. So do you use your master's degree in future design with your creative technology life, or is it part of your content journey? Is it separate?
Definitely. It's been very, very interesting because, of course, when I was looking for studies, I was specifically looking for it in the Czech Republic, like abroad. I was just kind of looking for something like innovation, something creative, technology, combining the two. And when I found future design and I read like what it's about, that made it very interesting for me, because of course design part very creative, future very like technology oriented. So I got really excited, and I think I really like chose this correctly because it fits exactly in that kind of overlap of creative, of artistry and technology. One of the interesting kind of like topics that we often touched upon is just kind of looking at history, like how are patterns, how are things evolving, and like kind of like taking that further into like where are we going. And also something that I learned about during my master's in future design was speculative design. So really designing for like what if, like if anything could be true, like if we could put a chip into your brain, like of course that was then still very like something that we wouldn't had yet experimented with, but or if we could like create a drug that makes you somehow like superpowers, and kind of design for that, because you don't know what's going to happen in the future. So it definitely helped a lot in like my inspiration and thinking about like what do we leave behind and what do we take with us to the future, how to make things better. And right now I still draw inspiration from that. And yeah, I guess this speculative part of it a lot as well. Like I love to just let my mind go like what if, and where are we going?
You're preaching to the choir here. You're speaking my language, Sky, because I started the PolyInnovator channel because I wanted to find a degree for smart city creation and design.
Nice. Yeah.
And future design was another kind of aspect behind that, but there wasn't really any degree out there. There's now a master's degree in Spain for it, but besides that one, there was really nothing out there. So I actually created my own degree using knowledge management tools, and I called it the modular degree. But future design is really interesting. That's one reason why I actually am really keen on Sora right now, because I was trying to use it as a way to generate a visual for any ideas. So I mentioned Zorin OS earlier, right? The Linux I like to use. I had this idea, like, what if I combined Obsidian with Zorin OS and Home Assistant OS, like the voice activated stuff, in order to control the home, and what would that look like? And it came up with a cool little video of like how that would integrate together. And while that might not be super useful, it might help maybe a graphics designer or something like that to actually come up with the interface for it as a basis.
Yeah, there's like, I feel like the best ideas come from just combining other things, like finding interesting combinations. And I also think that like at the moment where you have a creative thought, that is
Hmm.
already like a really magical moment where you are kind of combining your past experiences with your own imagination, with like whatever you're seeing or inspiring you, and the fact that you have a new idea. I feel almost like you're then destined to something with it, because I
Yeah.
always feel so bad. Like I have so many ideas and so many of them just kind of go away again because I had no time to write them down, or I had
No,
no
gotta get quick idea
time.
capture. Come on, put it down, put it
Yeah.
down.
Yeah, exactly. Like this also why I kind of started with the whole futures, because I felt
Yeah.
like I was in a product management job, so much more like at that moment, much more organizational, like working with the teams, and I felt like I like kind of lost my creativity. Like I was just
Mm,
having ideas, but they just kind of went away because I was way too busy with very structured stuff. Well, I kind of like feel like, yeah, I should do more creative or like do something with these ideas. They just kind of end up in my drawers or just kind of forgotten. Yeah.
mhm.
So that's kind of how it started for me as creating something for creatives.
I also think that that's another reason why I push people to make content even if they are perfectionists, because first off, you could always remake it later. And I think a lot of people
Yeah.
just don't realize that. And so if you feel like you didn't do a good enough job the first time, remake it and then it becomes a sequel post to whatever you're trying to make before. And
Yeah.
your mindset has changed too, so maybe you'll make something even better. I also like to put things down on the back burner. So even if something like, for example, there's a post that I'm wanting to work on. I want to write it right now, but I know I'm not ready for it mentally yet, called Side Quest Maxing, because I talk about going
Hmm.
on side quests in real life and like what would that look like and how do you try to maximize doing that in real life. And I think
Nice.
Polymaths do that so much, and it's a fun post, but I know I'm just not ready to make it yet. Not in the
Okay.
quality that I want. So I put it on the back burner, put a couple ideas down, and then over time something will click and then I can make it properly too.
Yeah, exactly. But at least you like wrote it down or like
Yeah.
put it somewhere, right? Like, yeah, that is my main encouragement, I guess, for creative ideas. Like, don't let them go to waste, like completely forgotten it, because it's such a, yeah, it's actually such a privilege that we already get these ideas, that they come to our mind. So
Hmm.
it's yeah, it's fun.
I was gonna ask if you use iPhone or Android, but I guess it doesn't matter. There's a widget you can use for like Notion. Just get like a database widget, put it on your phone. Anytime you have a new idea, make a new database entry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I have iPhone, so I can also really put their things on my Notion all the time. I'm also working with the futures on kind of. I'm at this point where I'm kind of rethinking the whole platform, because I feel
Mm.
like it's become way too structured for
Mm.
our messy, creative, unorganized brains. So at the moment, I'm thinking about like ways to much more like almost create like a bucket where we can like put things in, but also with the purpose of, if you cannot, if an idea comes to you and you cannot pursue it or like do anything with it, maybe
Mm.
someone will take it and like do something with it. So I think also that kind of sharing aspect to it is
Peer.
super exciting.
There's a tool called Glasp. I'm not sure if you came across it or not. It's become pretty popular. It's a highlighting tool, and they have been one of the more successful peer-based learning platforms, I would say. And I talked to the founders back in the
Ah,
day, and that's also another reason. Like the modular degree thing, I created a framework for it so other people can make their own. And I wanted to make a platform for the mod degree in order to help people learn together. Like if you made a mod degree about, let's say, future design, or maybe about AI automation or something like that, and you found a whole bunch of courses and let's say blog posts and podcasts you wanted to use to learn that topic. Cool. You made your own modular degree about that topic, and I wanted to learn it too. Then I could fork it like on GitHub and either just
nice.
copy it
Yeah.
just like what you're talking about, or I could add my own to it too, take something out. Maybe I don't want that course, I'll take it out. And that's the modular effect. And I think that's kind of
Yeah.
also what you're
Yeah.
talking about too.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I also take a lot of inspiration from GitHub, because I feel like this kind of like interaction that developers have with each other, where they're collaborating on a cool project and they feel so proud to be a part of it, and just kind of like sharing all kinds of projects and then forking it and turning it and stuff. I feel like that's something we're so much missing in the creative industry.
Mm-hmm.
That, yeah, especially because, yeah, so when I interviewed also like almost 100 creatives this year,
Wow.
just
Did you
asking
record
them
them?
about their process. Sorry.
Did you record it?
I recorded a bunch of them, not all of them.
Okay.
But it's like super interesting to. So if you ask creatives about like the process and which parts they are most insecure about, it's that part where often it's that part where you just don't know yet, like where you just feel like I have inspiration but it's not something really like good enough yet, and
Mm,
I don't want to kind of like share it for feedback yet because I'm scared that people will think something about that, like that they will think that I cannot do better or something. It's so sad because I feel like this part is so fun to kind of see from each other, and everyone agrees, like I would love to see it from someone else, but not me, like I'm not gonna share, and then kind of like you start staying in that loop. It's
mhm.
yeah, so I kind of hope that we'll soon start breaking that with everyone.
One thing
Yeah.
I want to ask is that, okay, why didn't you turn those interviews into a podcast?
Yeah, I was thinking about that, and I'm gonna do that. That's why
Okay.
I started recording them.
Okay, good,
Because
good,
I
good, good.
realized like, oh my, there is so much interesting content and like so much kind of rich data in people, their processes, that now it's exactly what I want to do. So
Mhm.
I'm gonna go your way. I'm already kind of like like researching podcast platforms, but yeah, definitely want to do that. But it's only that I started realizing, because at first I just kind of took them as user interviews, like kind of more like trying to understand. And then I kind of started to create some co-creation sessions. And already there, I realized I need to record this. There's so
Mhm.
much interesting content. Yeah.
And obviously, tossing those into Opus Clip and getting a whole bunch of clips back too would also help your channel stay consistent as well. Just get a whole bunch of shorts going
Yeah.
out. I actually had, by the time Opus Clip came out, I had 120 interviews by that point, and I had not repurposed any of them because I didn't have the bandwidth to do it. I didn't have like the manpower, if you will, to get through all that. And so by the time I got done, I had like a couple thousand clips, a couple 2,500 clips or something like that. And so I was like, how do I get
Wow.
these all out? And I literally was
Yeah.
posting like 10 a day for like over a year. It was crazy. But
And
yeah.
did it like help? Like, do you feel like, or are you kind of out of them? Are you not running out yet?
So I stopped recording the Polycast because I was kind of burning out on that show. But for example, this
Okay.
show has been consistent. I have the two different channels. On this show, for example, I've been posting quite a bit, and I've been posting solo content and the interview content and the clips, and so it's been pretty consistent. And this channel only has 215 subscribers. In the last year, I got about 215,000 views, and most of that was due to clips. So
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah, great.
I was gonna ask too. Did you do much in the way of like stocking prep for the show? Because I was gonna see. Have you seen my PIOS system? I'll have to
No.
send that to you afterwards. That is my PolyInnovation operating system, or Polymath integration operating system, and that is the framework I created for people like us to organize our life
Oh,
in
maybe you
various
could tell me
tools.
a bit about it.
It's mainly just I made it in Notion. I was in Notion for half a decade. I moved to Obsidian. I think Obsidian does better with it, but it is pretty agnostic when it comes to tools. And I wanted to organize my input and output. So I had the input as the modular degree and the output as like journaling and public wise the content production, right? But there's also aspects of like you want to track your workouts and plan out your kind of things like that. You want to also
Mm-hmm.
maybe do a gratitude journal and or even just like regular journaling for daily notes and stuff like that. So the system basically works on a time scale. You have yearly, quarterly, monthly, weekly, and daily. And then you have an archive after that. I wasn't a fan of the second brain para method. I thought it was too limiting for people who are more generalists. And so I wanted to create a system that was more modular.
All right. So you built kind of like almost like a productivity logging kind of
I think it's a
system.
little bit more than that, but like, yeah, productivity is the main focus. Yeah.
Okay, okay, interesting. No, I'd be happy to try it. I'm very curious. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm like I said, like I tried so many different things. I think I'm still kind of looking for the one thing that works for me.
Perfect. I'll send you the template after the call and stuff like that. And then let's
Okay.
see, what else do we got? You have a very consistent and aesthetic with your personal brand, your overall design. How did that develop over time?
And then
Obviously,
are
the
you like
purple.
referring to Qtures or to my kind of like purple
More,
aesthetics that's
more of the
everywhere?
purple aesthetics. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a funny question because often people notice it, but not many ask kind of like where it comes from. But yeah, no, I started out like as a teenager dyeing my hair when I was like 14 or 13, and my mom didn't like it. But she was like, you can dye it any color, but only like natural color. So I would go to the hairdresser and ask them to make my hair black with like with like 2 drops of blue. So like very rebellious. It turned out, of course, just completely black, but it was like, I was being rebellious with my hair color. So when I was like 16 or stuff, or like I think 15 or so, then and it was finally fine to like try other colors. And I tried literally all the different colors in the world. I have had rainbow hair and like pink and blue and green, like everything. And the funny thing is, I would always go back to black because black was kind of my default. And then one time I tried purple, and I just loved it so much. Like it felt really like I'd come home, like it just was me or something. So when I started dyeing my other hair colors, I always go back to purple. It just became my color, and I just loved purple already from like that age, I guess. And so this is kind of how I started my Instagram as well, with my hair color and kind of this different colors of hair color. And so I would have a feed in my Instagram where I would have red hair, so I would also post all kinds of red pictures. And then if I changed my hair blue, I would post all kinds of blue pictures. So it became this kind of rainbow Instagram that eventually just kind of like faded out to a purple, and then I just stick with purple. And I don't know, people just know me as purple, and I got sent people that would send me constantly like purple stuff, and it became my whole everything. Yeah. Same as I had with unicorns, but the unicorns eventually kind of like started to kind of like slow down when I got older.
It makes you think too. The PIOS system actually talks about phases, and so people like us who are polymathic, we generally go through phases like of what we're interested in, and sometimes those phases overlap, sometimes they're sequential. And one thing I thought about with the personal brand is that because our interests are going to change, because the niche might change, let's organize it via these phases and then market that and like promote it as like, oh, here we're going to move on to phase 2, cool. And in the different phases, I would change the color. Like for me, like my purple is the red. Like I love the red. That's how I branded myself, was that red.
Yeah.
And, for the second season, I had my red, but then I also had teal because I was talking about swimming, and swimming was the second phase. And I thought like the way you're going about it with your Instagram, when you had those different colors, those different phases of your content journey, like so that's cool.
It's funny because I also have a friend who kind of does this with the seasons. Like she always goes hair orange in the fall, and it just kind of like just all her pictures will become like pumpkins and like fall stuff. And it's funny because it's just catchy or something, but it also just somehow just fits the person or so who does it. So
that's awesome.
But it can be really like a phase of life. Like when I have different hair color, I almost like feel different.
Maybe it's the chemical seeping in the brain. No,
yeah, maybe.
Can you share your favorite story that's happened to you as a content creator?
Yeah, I was thinking about this because I would say like, okay, I can go for a serious one or for a non-serious one.
I feel like non-serious is more on brand.
Okay, then I'll go for the time of life where I was in this group of content creators, and me and one other girl, we would just kind of like go and like stalk people. I don't know how funny this is, but like the other members of our group, we would just kind of like go and like try to find them. Yeah, no, okay, maybe it's not real, but it was
no. I was pretending to be them. Like they're like, what are you doing? But continue. It's good.
I don't know why it was funny, but it was really, very funny. But actually, I think my serious one is maybe better because I feel like lately a lot of people are finding my creative technology video. And it turns out that these people are just like all really like me. Like a lot of people just kind of finding me and having the exact same mindset and the exact, like, I don't know what I did with this one video, the creative technology video, but it's like, it's almost like it's like a portal to all the people that I always needed in my life who understand me and who kind of like become my community. So I think that's a very it's a more beautiful story than
why do you think I make content about polymaths?
Yeah, no, this is very interesting because I've also just struggled with like deciding like what is it I want to bring to the world? What is it? What's like my goal here or so? And I feel like the more I just kind of try and the more I see what resonates with people like me, the more I just understand, like what's my mission for this world or something. So I feel like I'm navigating with my content kind of like, the person I want to be, but also just more about like what I can give to others, what kind of knowledge to share, and things that others, can somehow have a value from.
I like that. I definitely think you should make that creative technology a series too. And that would be,
Yeah.
make it like this
Yeah,
more.
I'm thinking. I have actually already collected a kind of like a almost like a masterclass, like some more very in-depth content on how I can get people along into the, like, starting out with creative technology and stuff.
You can make it like, I can almost see a funnel forming here where you have like a webinar masterclass that people can sign up to watch. They have to like sign up to your email list, but you can also use the playlist of your creative technology videos to lead people to that email list to the webinar.
Yeah,
And then they could do
exactly.
coaching or some other sort of monetization for you.
Yeah, it's funny because there are so many people who kind of are in the same space and they don't know exactly how to call it, and then they somehow end up with the term creative technologist. But it's I think it's also the future. I think most creatives are going to be creative technologists because just where we're going with life these days, it will be an overlap for everyone.
I agree. One last question here for you. What do you have coming down the line that you're looking most forward to?
Well, first I'm gonna move to the Netherlands. That will be interesting. Big
That's fun.
change. But also, like when it comes to Qtures, for example, I have a really interesting AI tool developed that's gonna help capture creative process. Kind of like how I told you, or how we talked for a moment about like having some smart glasses, but in this case it's about like recording your screen or recording your desk. And it's just kind of helping to make some sort of sense and like structured data out of what you're doing. Getting the first people to test that will for sure be very exciting, and to see how accurate that can be and how people will react to it.
I love the idea of building like a Jarvis out, of course, from like Iron Man.
Yeah,
Like kind of seeing what you're doing, interact with what you're doing, and help you
just
improve.
kind of like talk through it, and like I can see that happening too.
Jarvis, what should I do here? So, Sky, if someone wanted to find out more about creative technologies and Qtures, where can they find you online?
No, the best way to find me is through Instagram. There's where I'm most active. I will see any messages coming in and I follow almost everyone back. Or if you want to try any of the other channels, I'm available there as well.
Hopefully you get across the well,
I mean, I'm like kind of like everywhere all the time. So I'm sure like if you want to contact me, you just find one of my channels.
you're pretty active. Yeah, I saw a lot of your profiles when I was doing the research. I was like, oh man, she's all over the place. That's good. Perfect. So once again, this is Dustin, PolyInnovator, and Scy Heidekamp on the PolyTools Creator Spotlight. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
It was. I've never used a blur.
I also don't mind, like, if I see that I get blurry, that I just pause for a moment.
Okay.
So I'm not blurry.
Yeah, like